Alright. So what's going to happen is we're going to do 4 stands focusing on the 4 major aspects of a battle for a just a typical mission, right? We're not going to get too into depth into like vehicle operations. We're not going to get like counterinsurgency, any kind of fancy stuff. Very conventional. Advance to contact, get in a firefight, assault the position, and reorganize. Through these basic lessons, we should learn, right, most of what we need to know, and adapt and apply it to other situations. Obviously, there's only going to be one guy at a time. It's going to be fire team leader. What we're going to do is we're going to switch throughout fire team leaders. I'll declare it. Who will be fire team leader? You're going to use your self-interact, take control of the group. That truck right over to you, the west there, you can switch your kits there. To start out, right, as we go in squad formation and we're navigating, you got to know how to read the terrain. This is topographical, reading of topographical maps, or topo lines, contour lines is going to be really important. I know everybody understands the premise of this, but I feel that sometimes people just get overwhelmed and don't try to really get in and like visualize the terrain based on the contour lines. What you want to do is, right, every map typically is going to have a plane, like typical ground, right? For us, it's this ground we're on. This is kind of the level ground. Then there's going to be high features and low features. You can figure out the high features and low features by just looking where there's gathered contour lines. Now to figure out if it's a high feature, low feature, look at the indicated elevations, which are little black numbers. For this example, can anyone tell me rough grid 034085, what kind of terrain that is? For reference, it's between Pushtuka and Vybor on the west side of the road. Say again, 034085. Just if you know it, shout it out.
It's a low spot between Vybor and Pushtuka.
Yeah. Low ground.
It's a low ground. Now you can tell that, which I'm looking for where I can find a good reference. I can't find one here. But it's, you can see at the road, just east of it, it's 298 where it meets the road elevation. And there's a small, looks like a bridge. But if you follow that out, it's 293, 294, 295, so you're going down 4 to 5 meters in that area of grouped up contour lines. So you got to be able to read stuff like that. Now you know that position by the road there is kind of lower down. If you're advancing towards Pashoka, you know that's a good terrain to occupy. So from our position, you go northeast 300 meters. There's a feature at 035094. Can anyone tell me what that is compared to the terrain around it? So again, 035094.
It's a hill.
Yep. It's a hill. It's actually a fairly large hill. You should be able to see it. Yeah, it's right there. You actually just look northeast. The trees rise up on it. Right, you got to be able to pick that out. You got to kind of make a picture of what the terrain's going to look like in your head. This is definitely something that takes time, so try to always do it. Right, look right. You can maneuver in low ground. You can put overwatch and bases of fire in high ground. You got to always realize that. You're going to look for good routes to advance up. Grid reading, I didn't do it, but it should be fairly simple. Most maps have a marked grid. The numbers that go along the top are your eastings, you read them first, and then your northings go along the second, read those second. I'm not getting into too much detail, we don't use it too much, but it's good to know for being a leader if you get briefings and you get grids given to you. So that's reading map should be good. All symbols you should know, right? Gray squares of buildings, there's churches, stone walls, tree lines. Pretty big ones are the green, obviously. They're very approximated, but they'll mark where tree lines are. Finding your contour interval. It is on the bottom right side of the screen. It changes with your zoom, but it'll always say your contour interval is 2 meters. If you're zoomed in as high as you can go on this map, you gotta make sure you know it for each map. What that is the difference in elevation when you cross a contour line. Grid spacing is there as well. What you want to do is zoom out until the lines, the 2 horizontal lines, are about the size of a grid square, or exactly the size of a grid square. In this map, it's 100 meters. And when you get in a new map you're not familiar with, you want to find out your grid spacing, right? It varies between maps, sometimes 100 meters, sometimes 200 meters. So you want to find it out. That way when you're estimating range using the map, you're going to be accurate. Alright, distance between 1 and 2. This should be fairly simple.
300 meters.
300.
300 meters, there we go. Alright. The distance between 1 and 4.
Also about 300 meters.
Yeah. And how you got that is I put a dot here, I'll remark it as 3. I put a dot as 3, right? And you draw kind of a curve from 3 to 2. And it kind of roughly bisects 4. So you know that distance to 3 into distance to 2 is 200, or 300 correction. To 4 it's going to be 300 as well.
Also, if you need exact, you can do Pythagoras on diagonal lines.
Yeah, you can. There's lots of different tools you can use. I'm actually not going to get into crazy detail for the most part because we don't have time, but if you can roughly visualize that kind of dotted line I made, you can sort of figure out that that's to 4 is 300 meters, even though it's not linearly, or not, you know, straight east or south. And that's it for map reading. Any questions on that overall? A very important skill, takes time to really be able to get in your head, but absolutely important. We're going to start with our first scenario. It's going to be advance to contact. This scenario, we're moving to Pushtoka to secure it. We'll say Alpha Squad is going to be point. We have notional flanking squads. Don't really worry about them too much. For this movement, we'll shake it out. I'll have a staging point where we can start. Mark the staging starting points is for us. Just make it easy. From there, we'll step off to Pushtoka. Just quickly, little thing, before we move off, can anyone say how a squad leader should be saying formation here?
One on the left, one on the right. Relative?
One on the right, one on the left if we're moving south.
There we go, yeah. We know our axis advance is south, roughly. So you're not going to say 2 on the east, or you shouldn't be hearing that, you might hear it. What you want to say is 2 on the left, 1 on the right. And if it's not mentioned, you always assume Alpha 1 is going to be the point team, 2 is navigating off of 1. Any questions to that? Everyone realize why we say left and right, not east and west?
Yeah, because if you change direction, you still know what spot to be in if you're on the left or on the right.
Exactly. Alright, move out to your initial points there.
One, this is lead, carry on movement. 1 stepping off.
Alright, let's go.
2 stepping off.
AK's left.
Contact! Lead is still contact south, about 400 meters in all the 3 lines. Contact 130 from Alpha 1.
Alright, reorganise 130.
Are we returning fire?
Yep.
1, return fire.
I think they're behind the rock wall, but I can't see them.
Right, clarification enemy.
Yeah, they're behind the rock wall.
Need to fire. Any call on this lead, I need clarification on the destination of that enemy.
EI marked on map.
Any call on this lead, I need clarification.
EI marked on map. Southeast Alpha 1, 2 sections.
Lead acknowledge. I'll call sign. Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire.
We're going to ceasefire now.
I'll call sign lead collapse to ASL Merc for debrief.
Alright. Our movement there was very simple. It was this open-ass terrain. I picked something really simple to start. There's no real taking advantage of this terrain. We just have to walk across it. You guys did that fairly effectively. No real comments. The only thing is, 2, you took a little while to step off. It's not a problem. I had to hold up 1.
Yeah, I have a quick comment about that. 2 took a little bit to step off, and then when you guys stepped off, you stepped off not tying into Alpha 1. Yeah, I know exactly what you did. We sort of set up in a position facing that direction, and then when we moved out, you moved out in the direction that you were initially facing, but Alpha 1, when they moved off, were moving off in a different direction, so you were actually diverging paths instead of tying onto Alpha 1's flank for a little bit. But other than that, that was just a quick thing, and I saw no carrier pretty much recognized exactly what he did as soon as he did it, and corrected and tied back in with Alpha 1.
As the acting squad leader, I noticed it too. Stopped 1, got you guys information, and you guys were sorted out from there. Again, the second subordinate team, you're navigating off the lead team. So if he decides to take an alternate route, obviously this train isn't if this train isn't very really allowing you to be creative, but in other train, team leaders may take different routes. You just gotta navigate off the first team. The first team's gonna navigate the leader. He's gonna pick his route, and so it allows one person to navigate rather than 2 to take different routes.
Yeah, I just want to point out, if I may, that while Alpha 2 was a little bit late in stepping off, we were looking at Wonky to step off, and then he went ahead and did it without calling us on the radio. So that was a little confusion there.
Well, the way it works is he's the lead team and you're the second team, and he moves off and you move off him. You're tying off his flank.
Yeah, okay, but
it's not really something you communicate on the radio, because when you're moving out, you tie off. It's basically the way we've been doing it for the last, I don't know, while has been, Alpha 1's going to step off, Alpha 2 follow him, so you're not communicating on the radio. You're just waiting for him to move out.
No, I recognize that, but I had eyes on, and I heard on the radio he was delayed. So I started scanning the tree line in front of me, and then he was about 200 meters in front of us all of a sudden. So that's what happened.
Yeah, alright, just point to note, if you get out of formation, right, say Alpha 2 falling back 200 meters or something, just give us a heads up. We're at the contact reports. Right, you want to push it to your team as quick as possible, get them shooting. I know there's some confusion. I originally said no shooting, and then I realized, why not? That far can respond, so might as well get you guys actually coordinating your machine gun fire. While that's happening, squad leaders need to know a quick contact, right? All you really need to know is, they need to know alert, orient, describe, and a quick expound. And this would be contact south 200 meters, enemy in tree line. Right? From there, you're gonna go back and keep your team going, right? Make sure your ARs are in the fight. That's your most important. Make sure your team spread out in suitable formation, taking cover. Stepping back for a second, when you report higher, you need to have a range. People are really good at giving a bearing in a contact report, but a range is extremely important for a squad leader to know. The difference between contact south 50 meters and contact south 500 meters is tactically huge for a squad leader, so you have to push the range up. Your fire team members, if they're squared away, they can give contact reports right on the net. That should be happening, but if they don't, it's your team leader responsibility to push that contact report that he didn't send on the net. Maybe just yelled it out up to the fire team leader. Or if your team leader did a shitty contact report, you want to clean it up, clarify it, and then send it up. That's coming from, so that the squad leader knows and the other fire team complete knows what's going on, right? Any questions with contact reports? Alright. Again, reiteration, you want to push it up over the radio. If your team member didn't do it, you need to have a range, very, very important. And you need to make sure your whole team knows. So if you send it up and some of your team members maybe are still not quite sure, you can see that they're looking around on your HUD. Keep expanding on it, get them on so they're firing. Any questions overall with that? What you want to do now, you're in the firefight. Actually, sorry, one point that I noticed was I had trouble getting actually what was there. I heard contact, I heard the bearings from both teams, which I checked with my map and they looked good. The ranges, I think 400 is a little far, but a range is a range, right? You're better than nothing. I think you're about 300 at the contact. It's not a big deal. Doesn't really matter that much. The thing is, I got no idea what was there. I have no idea if it was a BTR, a machine gun, a squad, a single enemy. I asked it for the radio, and eventually it came through from, I think Alpha 1 from somebody. Don't remember exactly though. You want a rough idea what it is. If you have no real idea, just say, like, right, say unknown enemy in the tree line.
Well, I guess if it's, you know, at least classified infantry or armor or whatever.
Yeah, give me your squad leader some idea of what it is. Again, you don't have to figure out if it's a BTR 60 or BTR 70. You don't have to figure out if it's 10 or 11 guys. Right? Classify groups of guys as like fire teams, squads, platoons, plus or minus. You want to modify that a little. You don't have to be precise, but you want to ballpark what it is. Fire team formations look really, really good. I guess we're all, hopefully, you know, aspiring FTLs. We all know what to do. Again, as somebody said during the initial lecture, if your fire team is not in proper formation, slow down is the biggest thing I can recommend. It'll allow your fire team members to catch up to you and then fan out to the flanks. And one last thing I wrote down, I forgot to mention earlier, when you move out, what I do, you can say move out as many times as you can, but your fire team's probably not going to move until you do. So say move out and start moving, and your fire team will start following you. And as soon as you start moving, you're going to slow down to let them come out. Right, they're going to notice you move, they're going to start moving with you. Slow down to let them flare into proper formation. I call it slingshotting your team out. They're probably not going to be moving without you. But,
Or just stand up and start walking. And they'll,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you have to start the movement to pull them all out of their position, and then once they start moving, you got to slow down to let them all get in formation. So that's pretty much the advance. Is there any questions overall on that? Any points from the staff or anything? Generally in advancing? Or pointers?
Is that the operator thought?
Yeah, the op 4. You guys can talk. Apparently the fire was effective. They'll have some points. They might have some points. That was pretty simple for their side, though. Go ahead.
From the time we started firing to the time you guys returned fire, it seemed like it was maybe 15-20 seconds. The initial fire, at least on me, did not seem effective. It was good suppression, but I didn't.
I think
really
that was because of the confusion on open fire or not.
Yeah, that's my fault. I opened fired.
Yeah, there's some confusion on our end. It was mostly my fault. I originally just wanted to do contact reports, but I decided I might as well get the guys firing.
Right. So after about, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds of the fight, it seemed like a new element came into play, and when I was hit from what seemed like my front left flank. So whatever happened there was good.
That was Alpha 2 opening up, I think.
So,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the advance, and we're going to move into kind of the firefight, which is naturally a second proponent of after the advance. So once you react to effective enemy fire, you get down, you get your team firing back, you assess what's there, you're going to set up your contact report, you're going to assess if you need to move to a better position. Your squad leader is going to give you some sort of advice here, right? If he doesn't want to be in contact, he's going to get you to pull back. Most likely he's going to want to just engage the enemy and get you to act as a base of fire. Which is what we're going to get into now. There may be other options. You maybe want to go right into assault if you're close. May want you to maneuver out of that position. We're going to get locked into the firefight right now. What we're going to do is we're going to switch up team leaders. We are going to occupy our old positions. Op 4 is going to occupy their old positions. We're gonna get locked in a firefight. This is gonna be pretty simple. This is gonna be pretty quick, right? It's just shooting. All you're gonna worry about is directing your team's fire, improving your position. So we're gonna actually go right to the third stand right after firefight, which is assault. Checking my notes here. 1 second. Yeah. For the assault, we're gonna have a notional support element suppressing the enemy, and the whole squad is gonna move to assault. Using your map roughly reading, how would you assault this EI? Just say, we can have a fire base anywhere, right? Just say as a squad leader we can deploy a fire base anywhere, don't have to worry about the fire base. It'll be somewhere around us. Anybody want to take a guess at what a squad leader would be thinking for his assault?
I would have Alpha 2 lay down suppression fire, then have Alpha 1 go down toward the road and flank the road down to the west.
As I said,
By a couple hundred meters.
Say we have a notional squad and a machine gun that's going to move forward to help us to be the base of fire. So the whole squad's freed up to maneuver.
Have both teams move this west, and then down along the bunch of trees there to our southwest, flanking.
That's definitely logical. That's probably like the
That's a
first action of the
close
squad leader. It's
That's a
important to
close movement.
when you're in a type base of fire, you're going to check your map, you're going to try to think of what the squad leader's thinking, right? You're going to anticipate him. That way you can make a quick idea of what you're going to do, and when he actually gives you the orders, you'll have looked at the terrain, know what's happening. Another course of action would be move east into the defilade that I mentioned earlier, near the road. You can maneuver to the enemy's east and then assault in a westerly direction. Again, it's the squad leader's call, it's not your call as a fire team leader. If you're moving as a whole. However, you just want to look at the map, you want to start anticipating what the squad leader's going to be doing.
One and two, this lead. Contacted EI Merc. Enemy squad, they pulled down. I think they might start popping up again. You were clear of fire once you got a ID on enemy there. Copy. Up to you, copy. 1 and 2, this is lead. Further to my last. Keep situational awareness up. Enemy could be conducting attacks from the west. Command, do we have clear to fire? All this is lead, yes. Positive ID, you're clear to fire.
Someone do those contact reports.
I'm looking for them. Lead, say again. Contact 143 line, 200 meters. Seems like infantry. Commanding on with current orders, destroy enemy in place. Seems like they're retreating now. Command acknowledge. Confirm enemy have withdrawn. One has no more contacts. 2, this is lead. Any more contacts? 2, this is 2. Trying to find out where that contact is now. We'll get a new one. This is Alpha 2. We still have contact at 165. Single infantry. Command, I acknowledge. Getting enemy fire from 130, approximate 100 to 200 meters. Command, acknowledge 130, 100 meters, enemy. Command, Alpha 2, amend those instructions. Enemy contact in the town, 100.
Team, orient east. Enemies around the town. Kilroy, check the rear.
Been doing that.
Command, this is Alpha 2, we have one injured. Lead, acknowledge. Enemies at 100 in the clump of buildings. 1 is lead, confirm you can observe that position.
1 is very bad vision.
Lead, acknowledge 1, relocate so you can observe enemies at 100, group of buildings near the tree line. Correction, near the road. Command, we're gonna need a medic. Our guy, one of our guys is down. Lead, acknowledge, medic will come once the enemy have been dealt with.
You're moving, SR.
Negative.
Shaken X fired up 1 from 130. I got a full back and bandage.
Lead, clear fight, distance, contact. One, this is lead, I need a up-to-date contact report on the enemies you're engaging.
1 has no positive contacts. 1 has been putting down some suppressing fire in general direction.
Lead, ceasefire, flash back to my position.
Definite contacts through Benax.
We're falling back. He said it while you were talking.
Command,
Okay.
up to you, we're ceasing fire and we're out
Pull
of
back,
ammo.
guys. 1's coming back.
Roger 2, collapse back to my position, so ammo is available at the truck.
Team leaders were Essa and Atticus, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Alright. First happened, we knew the EI was in position at the EI marker.
What's up?
We engaged him. I already heard Alpha 2's fire control. Seemed very very simple. It all was needed to be, right? Everybody knew where the enemy was, everybody was firing. From there, the enemy did a secondary action. Actually, first off, I'm going to get the observers getting points in the original fire control into the original point. Hunter
The original
or
seemed
Soldier?
Yeah,
Hot
original
floor seemed good?
Yeah, nothing really to note there. Everybody was down in a covered position. I mean, the only thing I would maybe comment is the original firing was, you know, there was a lot of ammo being burned, but I mean, that's sort of business as usual, especially since, you know, this isn't going to be a long exercise, so we're not, you know, conserving ammo for a, you know, hour-long co-op or something. But yeah, no, nothing really to note with the original fires.
That's good. That's what I was hoping. It was fairly simple. Everybody should have known where the enemy was already from previous experience, but you got them on, and they were firing effectively. I didn't see any grenades. I wasn't really looking. That's definitely
I
a
had one
situation.
grenade land right by me.
Alright, good. That's definitely a situation. You can use grenades once they're fixed in a tree line. Hit them with a few HE bombs. From there, I'll let Op4 take the floor for what they did next. It was, I directed it, but they executed a secondary maneuver. Go ahead.
Basically what we did is pretending that you guys killed us, which you probably would have based on the volume of fire, grenades, etc. We came back in as another element that was to the east, where those buildings are, directly east. We set up there, began engaging who we could see, which wasn't too many. Took a lot of return fire that seemed pretty accurate. Then Cell and I threw smoke and made our way to the bridge, and fired from there. But once we got to the bridge, it seemed like we put terrain between us and your primary elements, so we received a lot less fire. But, based on that initial engagement, we probably would have been pretty hurt from that.
Alright. Generally, I look at the train now. Alpha 1 was probably looking through the broken ground to see the houses while they couldn't see him. I ordered them to relocate. Team leader was Essa. Did you guys actually relocate to observe the enemy at the houses? Because
I didn't
alternate
receive a
contact.
relocate order. I didn't hear a relocate order.
Alright, yeah, I gave one, probably the gunfire obscured it.
Yeah, or that it's not duplex. That could have been it.
I
Yeah.
did overhear some radio stomping, so that could have been when it happened.
Possibly. I heard you guys give another contact report after I gave the order, which I assumed had more enemy. Map out where that would have been. Okay, yeah, you gave me a contact report on the original EI, or filled it, I believe. which I assumed is why you stopped your relocation. Probably should have confirmed it with you guys, but
Yeah, I heard audio from there. I heard fire from there, so I felt it mentioned.
John Pletch probably has a squad leader should follow up when we relocate, but I heard that alternate contact, so I assumed you're taking your own initiative to engage him and didn't really pursue it. My only real problem as a squad leader was just a solid marker would have helped for that eastern contact. Right, you're giving me bearings. What I have to do is I have to put my compass over your team, right? Get a range and find find out where you guys are talking about. If as a team leader you have time, one marker for and a good marker, right? Not just EI, right? EI followed by a number, maybe a short description. Really helps for me as a squad leader, understanding where it is, communicating it to my fire team, and communicating it higher to other elements. Again, if you don't have time right away, that's fine. Give me a quick contact report to give me an idea of where the enemy is. But as you get time as a team leader, a marker helps immensely.
Noted.
One thing I'm going to say is to make a marker. Just say you're looking at that tree line to the south, as I currently am. I know the enemy are in the tree line. If I look right at them, my compass on my map points in the exact direction I'm looking. So I place one hand of my compass, basically top right in this case, of my compass over my position, follow the compass down until it hits the tree line. I know exactly where those EI are. I can make an accurate mark really quickly. Anyone confused by that? That's a little tip I was just going to throw in there. Look at your enemy, place one side of the compass over yourself. That line is going to bisect the enemy at some point. If you got any terrain feature that are near, find where that terrain feature is, and you should be able to get a within 20-meter mark of the enemy very quickly.
That's where
Just
reading
to
the contour
clarify.
lines really come in handy too.
If like this is a tree line, very easy to do it. If you don't, but you can estimate he's 300 meters, right? Count 300 meters of contour lines, or map lines, grid lines, and then you got it. I didn't do bounding originally in the advance I was going to, so we're actually going to do it now. We're going to, by teams bound, peel out of this position into an attack position, and we're going to attack the original EI. What I'm going to have you guys do when I say go is switch up team leaders. Team leaders, make sure your weapons are sorted out. If you want to switch anything off, the truck does that for you, so you can switch out your ARs, AAT. When I say go, not now. New team leaders will be number 3s, except number 4 for Alpha 1. So who is that, just for my reference?
Toothcake for 2.
Toothcake for 2, and Kilroy for 1. Alright, so once your teams are ready, I want you to go to original positions. Op 4 is going to reset in their original position. From there, be listening to the net. We're going to peel out of the position by teams. From there, we're going to clear into an attack position, and we're going to assault through the enemy position.
1 and 2, this is lead. Enemy have appear fixed in their location. What we're going to do is we're going to peel off to an attack position I'll mark shortly. From there, we'll sweep through the wood line, the attack position wood line, and we'll assault into the enemy position. I'm going to throw some marks out and give some movement orders shortly.
Visual, 2 men, rightmost barrier.
Bottom barrier.
Alpha 1, 3.
West, Alpha 1, you're in full position. 1 double team set in the attack position, Alpha 1, you're going to peel off. And join 2 in the attack position.
I don't see him.
Alpha 1 copies.
Alpha 2, this is lead. Peel off now. Alpha 1, hold position.
They're in death flight now. You guys with saws, at least do some light suppression because A2 is moving. Repeat. All right. Contact right side of the walls.
Contact directly 140 from Alpha 1. About 250 meters behind
Grenades are going off due west from Alpha 1, right where A2 is running.
God damn it, I just got hit again.
Alpha 1, correction Alpha 2, this is lead, trigger set. Got a couple guys set, we need to consolidate, but we've got a fire in position now. Lead acknowledge, Alpha 1 peel to Alpha 2's right flank.
Roger, Alpha 1 moving. Everyone move west. We're going to be on the western side of Alpha 1. Or Alpha 2, excuse me. Essa, let's go.
Move your butts. Taking fire.
Two forward left, one forward right. Once you get set, we're going to push the tree line into the enemy.
Roger.
Let's go, one. Let's move up. See?
Say again, stop
I'm up.
we hit the road.
Copy. Maintain squad
Are you
line
medic?
if possible.
I'm a medic.
I may need epinephrine.
I don't know if I'm supposed to treat you yet.
2, we need to hold
Alright.
up and wait for 1.
We're transition to assault now.
Let's go, everybody.
Alright, continue movement.
Move up.
They're real close in these woods in front of us.
Just keep moving through this tree bank.
Frag out.
Looks like they're on the left side of the trees. It was a smoke, Essa.
Alright, move up.
Careful as you move up, so we're going to take you in the open ground. Keep eyes open.
I'm up.
Rudder.
Alright, fan out, guys. Are you taking flank, Roy?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least for another minute until I pass out again.
Yeah, you need epi bad.
Yeah, Beagle said he's probably shouldn't give it to me.
Dead.
Body there. Alright.
Team leaders lead. Once you've reached your limit of exploitation, the road, you should halt. One will orient south, two will orient east. Send me an updated SITREP.
Check that.
One copies.
Alright, go ahead and use these buildings and cover. Just make sure it's definitely covered. Orient east.
Gotcha.
Alright, when we're going to be looking south, let's stay on this side of the road here. I'm up.
Welcome back, mate.
Alright, so let's stay here in these trees. We're going to be looking south. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if you caught everything before I passed out, though.
Tactical combat nap.
I got southeast. But the hill's kind of blocked.
Op 4, this is a lead. Confirm you're in that position I mentioned earlier.
I'm up.
Move up to this wall here. Kilroy, it's not solid if you keep cutting out.
Yeah, Op 4, they spotted you pretty quick there. You guys can just
Got it. Jammed! Cleared.
One, let's move up to here. We get a good
Two, keep me posted on the enemy situation.
Right.
Am I?
1 and 2, this is lead. When you're able, send me an updated SITREP.
1 is 5 strong. We got Kilroy keep passing out and a couple of mine injuries. 5 strong and good ammo.
Roger.
No contacts.
Command 2 is 3 effective. No further visual on the contacts out of the east. They may be indefinitely on the reverse slope. Command acknowledge. All call signs ceasefire. Collapse back to my position, which is ASL Merc.
Okay. Rendezvous. Mark.
Op 4 are here too.
Hey guys.
I kind of lost track. Initial team leaders. Alpha 1, who's your initial team leader?
Kilroy.
Kilroy. You were wounded at some point, correct?
Yep.
Who took over?
Essa.
Essa. Essa, you were the team leader at the end, right? Yeah, you gave me the SITREP. Alright. Alpha 2, who's your original team leader?
Toothcake.
You didn't make it the whole way, did you?
No, I was alive the whole thing.
Oh, you were? Alright. What did I think? Never mind.
Everybody else died, but...
Good meeting.
Well, that's the nature of the beast. I'm gonna break what we did down into... Kill the engine! Thank you. Gonna break what we did down into... Let's say 3 parts. We're gonna focus on the first one right now, which was the initial peel. Right? Bounding is usually... The way I always think of it is you keep 1 foot on the ground, right? So I had Alpha 1 with the foot on the ground. They were shooting at the... Alpha 2, you maneuvered to the west to the attack position. Once you were there, you were acting as a hasty... You were the foot on the ground, and Alpha 1 moved to join you at the attack position. The attack position is basically a regroup point as close to the objective as safe. So from there, you step off the attack position, you're going into the attack, right? There's really no turning around there. Unless there's like a significant change in the enemy. Problems I noted, I'll let everybody have the floor in a bit, but just making a marker. I make a marker called open ground. I saw 3 guys at least get hit, including myself, crossing this open ground. Could have been a candidate to use smoke. Right, you can look at the EI, they're looking northwest, open ground. Alpha 1 was covering, but we were still getting engaged effectively. I'll mark where smoke was an obvious point. Should be actually somebody... Alpha 2 team leader originally. Toothcake, can you mark where good position for smoke would have been? Throw a marker where you would the smoke to be billowing.
Marked.
Yep, that would be one, and then if you had a second one, pretty obviously be two, it's west. Alternate option I'm gonna throw out. Right, this is a small gap, yeah. Alternate place for smoke. Now, the advantage, right? Obviously, for the alternate position, you have to do that via GP25 or M203. Right, it would have covered our movement, made it a lot easier. Right, you want it really close to where you're moving or really close to the enemy. The advantage to where close to you is if there's multiple enemy, it'll cover you the whole time. Close to the enemy, the advantage is it'll cover that enemy really well, but if there's separate, there's say groups of enemy at the broken ground area, they would still have clear observation. Play it by the situation, but deploy it close to the enemy or close to where you're moving. Generally. Any questions on deployment of smoke there, right? Everybody kind of realized we could have used it there. Again, it's not going to come from the squad leader to deploy it all the time. You may have to just do it on your own initiative. Or if you're not quite sure, just double check with the squad leader, right? He's not going to be mad at you if you say, you know, I need to deploy smoke, and he'll give you a ride to that, you know, or go for it. Or he might say don't deploy smoke for some reason that maybe you don't understand at the time, like a higher tactical reason, but I can't really think of any at the time. It's time. So we peeled out. Aside from crossing open ground, taking some casualties, it was pretty good. As soon as the second team is set, you need to yell it out. I think I had to pull it out of you guys that you were set. Right? Bounding, we want it to go as quickly as possible. So as soon as you guys are ready, and by set, you mean you're down, you're observing or firing on the enemy, right? You're not just arriving. So you don't want to just arrive until set. The other team gets up and your AR still isn't caught up because he was lagging behind, right? Make sure your team's in position. Give me the set on the radio. Next team's moving. Boom, we're in the attack position. We were under fire, we're taking casualties, right? This is the nature of an assault. You have to carry on as best you can until it's completely hopeless, right? Now it's kind of your call to see where that point where the attack is done and you should try to regroup where you are, but we were taking casualties through the tree line. People were moving for the most part. Casualties were happening, and when we reached about waypoint 1, we lost a lot of momentum right there. Right? I was pushing you guys on the radio, pushing on direct to keep the momentum up, reminding you of your limit of exploit was this road. Which your limit of exploit is basically a point the squad leader is going to lay out that he wants you to get to, right? Typically, you should lay something out past the enemy position, but something you can defend, and hopefully recognizable, right? So, we got through the enemy position. They were pretty much dead just as we passed waypoint 1. Cleared through that position and got to this road. I'm going to open up for the observers. Anything you guys noted for both the bounding out of the original position or anything through the attack position?
Yeah, if I may. From my perspective, the initial peel to initiate the flanking maneuver was pretty slow to get moving. I was following
what fire team were you?
Alpha 2.
Sorry.
Yeah,
from my
sorry,
perspective, as soon as I gave the order, like 5 seconds later, you guys were moving, and I had a jog all the way to the attack position. The team leader, do you got anything, like, you were moving, right?
Here, can I just, from what I observed?
Yeah.
The only thing that went, yeah, they moved out pretty quick. The only thing I noticed was that Toothcake sort of just shouted out one order to peel out. And then, like, I was probably standing about 4 feet away from him, and I could barely hear him due to the amount of the fire going out. So he sort of got frustrated initially because people weren't moving out. That's just where, as a fire team leader, if there's a lot of contact going on, just run up to all your guys. And I mean, if you've ever been in my fire team when it's going on, I'll run around and I'll yell, we're moving out, you know, peel back. Just make sure you repeat yourself a bunch of times and make it as loud as possible. But other than that, I mean, once there was a little bit of confusion moving out, where it was obvious Toothcake knew what was going on, knew what he had to do, but there was just so much shit going on, and it was so loud that he had trouble getting everybody moving initially. But other than that, it was no problem.
Now, but for me, from my perspective, I was following Toothkick around. I was perhaps one of the first to get from the position, and that was when I got zapped straight away. Really, when I was following Toothkick around.
Yeah, I think we were slow getting out, and pretty much the open ground point that Bricks mark, I think we started taking casualties there. And since we were pretty spread out, I think the people that were trailing joined up with one, started putting down fire, and that's how we got so spread out. That was from my observation, at least.
I should put on it wasn't Toothcake's fault. It was just the noise was overwhelming. And I was very close to him, about 5 meters, 10 meters, and I could barely hear him. So when I was following around, yeah, go ahead.
Small suggestion there. For when the lots of the loud guns going on, it seems like radio is actually easier to pick up than direct. So I will sometimes use the squad radio to raise my fire team just to make sure everybody gets it. I know it's it clots the net, but it gets the message out.
Yeah, it's actually something to go over. It's like a couple commands that you can use on the to control everybody. But definitely, it takes repeating simple orders, as Hunter's saying, right? And the slingshotting movement I find helps, right? You start moving, turn around, and start yelling back, move, move, move. You'll get a couple of guys moving. Then look at your diamonds, look at your shack die code, make sure they're all moving. And once everybody's up and going, then you can sprint back to the front and guide that whole train where it needs to go. Alpha 1, anything from your observer, you guys, for any of the movement from your original position all the way to this, where we are now?
This is Salter. You covered one of my points really well with the smoke, because that was one of the first things I noticed is a few smoke rounds over on their position would at least partially cover the advance and maybe obscure the direction we were coming. The other thing I liked to see after getting up towards the road here was that Alpha 2 moved to the right flank, and so it was more of a, instead of a column formation as they moved through to clear, because that column formation in any kind of assault, it's much more difficult. Like, you're much less effective, in other words. I know it was an advance through a tree line, which was a linear tree line, so that made sense. But once the threat was basically over, they moved over, and I thought that was a good move on their part.
For the formation, I know it gets messed up in assault, and that's definitely something that's like granted is going to happen. Formation I intended as a squad leader was line. And I should have made this more clear.
Absolutely.
I should have made this more clear. Is probably would have had one in the tree line on the right, and then two facing it on their left. And if one sort of was getting too close to the southern edge of the tree line, they could push one into the open ground, or push two to the open ground to the north. But it's a nature of an assault. I wasn't gonna harp on it too much. That was too messed up. But I did see definitely movement all over the place, and I wasn't sure what was happening. Any points from any of the guys in the team?
We had a lot of confusion in one as to who was leading, because Kilroy kept passing out and coming back.
Right, I think I told you on the radio, right? Team leader is not effective. He should hopefully identify it himself. If he's not, right?
Yeah, I took over whenever Kilroy was gone, and then he would come back and take back command, and happened twice.
What I'm going to recommend is
so
if you're a team leader, right? You're hit. You're not going to get a medic anytime quick in an assault, probably. If you're just wounded, whatever, carry on. But if you're passed out, or in the process of continually passing out, I just say give the reins up, right? Say, look at your AR. You're next up. Say, take command. I'll get to you when I can, right? Op 4, anything overall?
The formation while crossing that open ground, you were quite bunched up from our perspective, forming a quite large target in depth, so it was easy to hit on burst or even auto. You should probably moved in a column spreading a thin line for our perspective to not present such a large target.
The alt smoke mark would have been really effective because that was right about where I was firing from at the start of the fight.
Yeah, I think it would have
Yeah.
covered most of us.
Hey, can you tell, were we bunched up crossing the open ground or in the mark that I just made called attack position? Or did I make that in the right channel? I think I did.
I remember while crossing the open ground, pretty much at the open ground marker, saw a group of about 5 or even 6 persons that was forming a quite circular target.
Alright. Fair enough, because I noticed we bunched up at attack position, but it's because we kind of pushed 2 squads into maybe 5 to 7 meter tree line. That definitely was too much and we were packed up, and I was, that squad leader was just trying to push us south to get out of that.
From my point of view, when you guys got to that position, I could no longer see you. I had all the trees in the way. And I was the one that moved over west of our position into that tree line and waited for you guys to come up, and then opened up when you got close. But that wasn't effective from my point of view. I got killed almost immediately.
Right. So yeah, it was. I think the biggest point was our lack of smoke in the open ground. The assault was good. I mean, it's always going to be messy, right? There's going to be casualties. There's going to be, you know, imperfect formations and everything, but you just got to get through it. The pacing seemed good. Maybe on the slow.
Yeah, well, that was. I think
me.
the attack position was good.
Cut out while still lit up bricks.
All right. Yeah, the pacing was a little slow for me, but I know it gets bogged down. Definitely when you're in a woodline, you have to slow down. You can't go through it at a jog, or you're probably not going to see, but you can't really walk through it either. It's kind of like, I say, like a hybrid of walking, jogging, right? From tree to tree, kind of looking with your gun up all the time.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to mention actually before this was the, like in an assault, especially in the trees, I find like moving forward with everybody with their rifles up seems to be a good pace. It keeps everybody alert. You can put out fire a little bit easier, a little bit more accurately, and it gives you sort of a deliberate moving forward pace. It probably works a little bit better against the EI or the you know, EI than
AI.
you know, human. Yeah, AI. There you go. AI than human players. But it's something like, especially in wooded areas, it would have been a good thing to try.
Yeah, definitely. Its pacing, something I'm looking for, is pretty good. I did find it slowed down, or bogged down would be a better term, at one point. Just, I think it was the amount of casualties and kind of a little bit of a problems. I think the team leader went. I think Kilroy is down, so it definitely slows down when things like that happen. But you can. A little props that you guys pushed through, though. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think when Kilroy went down, I didn't realize to use the take command action, and so people were still sitting around Kilroy's lead marker on the HUD. And then when I, took over the command circle, people rallied on me and we moved on.
All right. Sorry, what was my last point here? Then we came to this position, right? I gave you quick arcs. I think 1 south, 2 east. You gotta adapt that. You gotta, like, I'm gonna say quick things as a squad leader. I may not be as precise. Roger, if you're 1, you're saying south arcs. Well, the road goes southwest. That's a pretty big indication you want to cover that road. I had opt for reinsert and just at first just kind of be in the barn position. I think you guys got a contact report and firing within like 20 seconds of them poking their heads out.
Yeah, they were. I was right there because I heard. Because I can hear Op 4 on the radio too. Pretty much, Dyslexy said, "Okay, we're going to try and become more visible now." And then Atticus and Toothcake and all them were watching in that direction. Basically, called it out amongst themselves, and then Toothcake, gave them permission to fire, so they engaged. If they had run that right, up the chain to you, Bricks, you pretty much would have gotten it, a contact report instantly as soon as Op 4 tried to make themselves visible.
Yeah, and I definitely heard a contact report on the radio, telling me it was at the east, however many 150 meters, however many he said, and at the barn pretty damn quick. The SITREPs are one thing, right? I had to ask for these a couple times before I got them. I know it takes some time once you stop to figure out what actually just happened over the last bit of an attack. Once you stop, set up your guys for security, start figuring out your SITREP. That's probably the next thing I need. General things, right? There's no exact format, but what I'm looking for is enemy situation, your situation, and some of your, I do like to think before I talk. So, enemy situation, your situation, your strength, so the amount of people you have killed and wounded, and kind of your ammo, really quickly. It's not an aid support, doesn't have to be precise, but I want to know what's basically going on with you guys. So, enemy situation, basically, especially in your assigned area, if you have one, if not, just generally, what you see, right? I need to know this. I need to know if the enemy have totally broken off, or they're starting, or they're doing an attack. Your situation, basically, where you are. Generally, like, the amount of people you have up and the amount of people you have up ready to fight, the amount of wounded you have, and if you said the amount of people up, you don't really have to say the amount of people killed, right? So you have 5 up, 2 of them are wounded, right? I know that one of the guys was probably killed. You had 6 originally. You can mention that you had a killed guy, though. It's fine. And then ammo and weapons, just kind of roughly, right? This is an ace report again. It doesn't have to be precise. It just, you have, right? You're good on ammo. You're bad on ammo, right? You have an AT. You don't have an AT. Just that really quickly. If you think I need to know it, you can throw it in. If I don't really need to know, if you just used a couple mags, then I don't have to add that. So once after them, I got them pulled out. They were pretty good. Good enough. One thing I want to say about them really quick, though, is try not to use the words down on a guy, right? Because I don't know if that's killed or wounded. Use wounded, use killed, KA, WA, doesn't really matter. Down is a kind of an either or term, and I'd rather knowing how many got wounded and killed. And I like to know, as a squad leader personally, I like to know how many guys got up, which includes wounded that are not conscious from my idea. So you have 5 up, that's great. I like to know that really quick so I know what your capability is. Any general points about SITREPs, right? They're pretty simple. Once you stop hearing commands when you think you should be hearing commands, as a team leader, you gotta check to your squad leader, right? See if he's still up. Your medic should be pushing this to you, but he might not, right? Your medic is your team leader's buddy. He should be pushing on the radio, squad leader's down, If he's, which, again, down is confusing, but he's gonna clarify that to dead or wounded. Either way, you gotta take command, right? Everybody knows Alpha 1 would take command first, Alpha 2 second, in the order of precedence. Some points are taking command. I'll go over really quick. What you want to do is start, if there's problems with your squad, right? If your squad's doing their task, right? Just announce you're in command. If they're not, announce you're in command, then start remedying the problems, right? If they're held up in an assault, you want to, push them forward. If they're in a shitty position, you want to move them to a better position. So start dealing with the situation, because if your squad leader went down, there's probably something happening. Second, you want to get his radio on the 148s, right? You can't, we can't even talk to command on the 343, so you need 148. What I do as a fire team leader is I always request it right at the beginning of a mission and pack it in my backpack. That way I have one sitting there, it's not interfering, I'm not using it at all, but when I need to, I unpack it, put it on channel 5, and then I don't have to look for the squad leader's body. What you want to do, throw a basic thing to command, right? You're probably, squad leaders went down, there's probably a lot of other people that are down. So, say, command, this is Alpha, squad leader's down, I'm taking command, I'll send a SITREP shortly, right? Command knows that something's happening, somebody's on it, they don't need to know exactly what's going on right now. So then you're going to work through whatever kind of situation you got, you're going to deal with it. I'm kind of using generic terms so you guys aren't applied to one situation, but if you're in assault, say you push through to your kind of limited exploitation. If you're in the defensive, you sort of won the firefight, maybe you're holding your position, maybe you're withdrawn, right? Situation dependent. Once you're able to, send a SITREP back to command, like a full SITREP, kind of dealing the whole situation. So, I think we're at number 5s, right? Or whoever's next, take command. The ammo truck is here. Grab your weapons. Team leaders, once you sort it out, I'll throw out 2 marks for you guys to format.
I'll take A1.
Enemy force, you can go to the barn you're at. You're going to defend it from an attack from this direction.
B-Trees, what's your kit?
Can I repeat for 1? You want us to move when ready?
Negative. Let me just confirm 2 is ready to go first. 2 set up.
And one We're bounding towards that barn, east-southeast.
Yes, that is your final objective. Take and hold that bar.
Alright, copy.
Roger, so, 2, you're observing. If you got any contacts, weapons free. 1, move when ready.
Alright, 1's moving forward. One hold.
Roger, 1, you're set. 2, take a bound.
1 is set.
Shit, observer down! The fuck, bro?
Oh shit! I thought I was way out. I was enough out of sight. Oh well. Sorry, Kilroy.
Injured! Left side! Left side! They're behind the house! Bandaging myself!
Roger, 1, take a bound.
1's moving forward. 2, see if you can put some smoke on that side of yours. 1's close enough, we're gonna get in the buildings now.
Roger.
Fragging.
1's set outside the buildings.
2 has 2 down.
Say again?
2, lead my buddy team carrying your bounding to the east of the building.
Stand clear.
The barn, there's a possible post tank.
Moving up. Frag out.
Frags you up.
Lead is still up.
Let's go.
One, pull back. Where you guys going? That tank's on fire. It's gonna blow. We're set outside these buildings.
2's crossing the eastern side.
Alright, 2's gonna, 1's gonna cover well too. So.
Are you guys hearing me over what I'm saying? Yeah, now I do.
Barn is clear.
Never know these things.
2 to the lead, acknowledge barn is clear. 2 acknowledge barn clear. Setting up and looking east.
East side of barn.
Roger, all lead, ceasefire, collapse onto the south side of the barn.
Okay. Alright. As you bounding by squad bounding or bounding by teams, right? Same things. You guys kind of understand that? The sub-elemental bound. The idea is, right, you're moving forward while providing suppressing fire. Now, if you bound by teams, which I think I had Alpha 2 do, I didn't actually get a chance to look at you guys bounding by teams for your last movement there. Or correction, bounding by buddy teams, I guess you call it. Or team bounding. The reason I did that is because you guys look like you might have been out in the wind if you just all rushed the building. Because Alpha 1 had rushed their building that was right in front of them. However, you had a little bit more distance to cover. So, Alpha 1 team or Alpha 2 team leaders trees. How did that bounding by buddy teams go?
Would have been good had we had more than 3 people at that point. That's so we had lost 2 in the initial rush, and so what happened was I asked our AR, which was no carrier, to be a lone man buddy team and watch for Maverick and I to cross first, and then he picked up when we got to the buildings.
All right, very cool. That's definitely, you're right. Your AR is the bigger firepower, so that's a perfect division there. And definitely good command on the fly.
Yeah, I just started firing on the move to keep up with burning trees because I couldn't see any point targets anyway. So that's what I did.
Yeah, Roger. If you're got no targets and you're bounding like that, where if an enemy pops out, he'd be able to kill one of you guys very quickly. Right, you're getting close. Just keep light rate of fire, like a nice slow, steady rate of fire, unlikely enemy positions. Like keep them suppressed. You guys are using all your explosives on the approach there. It's like grenades being thrown over walls. AT-4s being launched, HE bombs, right? If anything was a little too heavy, right, might have wasted a lot of rounds for 3 guys, but definitely, I think it killed and suppressed the outpour pretty well.
Can I share something real quick regarding the ammo? Okay, I'm going to quickly illustrate what happened. I was standing right here. I ran like this, and when I got here, that's when that AT-4 hit the wall.
Wow.
Yeah, you missed by the grace of God.
Damn it! Overall,
damn it!
I couldn't see out for it. I was using my binoculars from the house, which is probably a good sign. I think you guys are fairly well suppressed, right? Small areas,
totally
suppressed options.
When I peeked around that first, like when the first initiation of fire was me peeking around the right side of this building over here, I fired a few shots and ducked back. If I hadn't ducked back, my entire head would have been carried away by bullets.
Which is absolutely good, especially as you get closer and closer, right? You want to keep that rate of fire up. It's you and your squad that's in the open, right? It's not your base of fire for another squad. It's you guys that are covering yourselves in a bounding movement.
Yeah, I gotta give Burning Trees props here because he called the out right away and actually gave us directions where to shoot. So it was really easy to light up that fighting position where you were.
Yeah, it was very nice.
It's something I don't observe us doing all the time. I think it takes a little bit of coordination from team leaders to the squad leader and down. However, I think it is something effective and something we can do, like the average shack attackers can do it in a mission. So I think it's something I'd like to see happen more. Right, instead of just the we get 200 meters from the tree line to the objective, just run. A little coordination so we keep some fire on the enemy would be, I think, ideal and something we can actually do.
If you put Curveball in command, you can be sure he will be used a lot. He's really good at structuring it and controlling it.
These are things that everybody can pick up and practice.
Yep, so something you can encourage your guys, right? And if you guys are obviously going to be squad leaders at some point, something you can use there, right? Just bounding. And it's pretty, should be pretty simple, like verbally to set up. We're bounding to that house, you know, by teams, Alpha 1, go. They reach their position, they're set. As squad leader, you know, if you got good team leaders, Alpha 2 should hear set and they should be like pretty much moving right away. They don't need to hear you say move. It should be kind of almost go on itself by itself. It was very good though, very good. I just got a few things highlighted that I forgot to mention. ACE reports. These are going to be like more of a long-term co-op maybe. All it is ammo, casualties, equipment. Ammo is ammo, right? Round it to be 3 megs a man, 10% ammo. Pretty easy. And you want to mention your ARs and your AT. What capabilities you have left there. And it's ammo that you have left, not ammo that you've used. Right? Gives the squad leader a good idea of how much you need resupplied or how capable you are. A little more precise in the SITREP though. So you want to make sure you mention ATs, mention your AR, how much ammo it has left, or if you have 2 of them, how much each, and roughly how many megs you have per man, or a percentage, or very low kind of works. Casualties, right? How many guys you have up, how many guys are wounded, and maybe even like a little bit of status for your wounded guys. Equipment, anything else, vehicles you have assigned, special equipment, radio kind of things, maybe mission specific. Anything kind of like that. If you have nothing, don't bother saying anything for equipment. That's ACE reports. All I gotta say about them, just anticipate them. If you're in a like a bigger scale co-op, like a respawn co-op, you'll probably use it. Other than that, it's not really used terrifically much. Medic reports. I kind of forgot to mention this on our reorg and assault little stage there. It's very confusing for a medic and a squad leader when you hear just, I need a medic on the radio. If it's not pushed, like if you just hear it as a fire team leader, you have to push your fire team, the name of the wounded guy. That's what the medic needs to know, right? Fire team is, we'll get him to go into the right area, name of the guy will get him to find the right guy, and once he heals him, he knows that's the guy that was wounded. If you want to throw a status in too, right? Basically, the two status we have in ARM is unconscious or conscious. You could clarify with like unconscious needs epi, right? A little more priority. You could say high priority, low priority. Low being he's conscious, he just needs some morphine and a good chance. High being he needs epi. And you can throw any kind of thing in the middle, right? There's no exact scale, but just so your medic has a good idea of like how to triage, right? He hears it. And fire team's really important for getting to the actual right position. If he's not with the fire team leader, he's not going to be with the marker. So you want to throw a marker on the actual wounded guy if that's the case. If he's just with you, right, fire team marker should be fine. Just checking my notes here. Alright, last thing I wanted to mention, I didn't really go into urban ops much. It's kind of my last point. This was a little bit of it. I'm not going to go into detail about stacks or clearing rooms or different sectors of responsibility in the room. Right, that's a little extraneous for ARMA. The thing I gotta say is you gotta slow down at the door, right? If you're running, you're probably gonna get shot if you sprint through the door, but generally, right, you want to slow down weapons up. You want to stay spread out. I know people like bunch up on different positions. You want to keep your spacing. You want to minimize your talking in adversarials. Don't use grenades in houses. If you got identified like a hostile house that's obviously giving you troubles, you got AT4s, you still got them, and from a distance drop your M203s into the windows. I really barely ever see it practically used for trying to throw grenades in doorways.
Well, this gate's pretty big, so I thought gonna hit that.
Yeah. Bigger things, or if you're distant and you're just trying to lob it over like across a road into a window, sure, try it. Just don't try to stack on a door and throw a grenade in. You guys all probably should know this by playing Armor, but just...
Yeah.
I do have one little tactical tip about this.
Yeah.
What I observed in the Spectator was someone on this side. There's a fire team going on the far side of the building and a fire team on the near side where I am. The guy in my position had a 249, and I liked what he was doing, but he wasn't aware of his geometry of fires. He was strafing like this and firing through the building. That's awesome. It will go through this. However, had they penetrated the far side, it would have hit his other team.
Yeah, actually, we had asked upon that, and I saw the rounds. I thought I saw the rounds impacting the barn, so I called out over the net that we had a friendly team on the east side of the barn.
Ah, very good.
Definitely, yeah, good. You just gotta coordinate, for sure. It's crazy trying to think of the battlefield geometry, as I call it, of urban combat, because everybody's facing different directions. Know what you're hiding behind, know how thick it is, and try to coordinate the best you can. Obviously, it gets messy. Coming in two teams, different sides.
I don't quite recall, but does anything beyond wood and, say, thin metal sheeting actually get penetrated by regular rounds?
Yep.
Regular rounds, cars will, but no, most of what we got is like stone and mud walls, brick walls.
Hey Briggs, would you recommend stacking up in an urban environment, or letting them run loose like they normally do? I mean your fighting buddies, I mean.
I'm not going to say an official like shack tack policy, but I'm going to say play it like you play Call of Duty. Stacking up and everything, 4-man stack ups are just usually more trouble than they're worth. A 2-man stack up is effective, I find. Right, 2 guys going in, that way you're not just wasting like single guys into a door. But things like 4-man stack ups and like waiting until everybody's ready and stuff is just more problems than it's worth in an urban environment.
One thing I would
No,
say
but let's say if you're moving down the street, stacking up, or moving a column formation, I should say, would you recommend that? Because what usually happens, in my experience, is that the moment we enter an urban environment, everyone starts running every which way, and there's no formation whatsoever.
This sucks. You can take this. Again, I'm under the impression that people using their individual initiative, taking cover, spreading out is a lot more effective than trying to get columns moving up and down streets.
Yeah, the basic
Things like
idea
that.
when you get into an urban environment, it's not about a formation. A formation's for like a in the outdoors or a forest or something like that. Urban environments, you have so much hard cover around you. You need to move to facilitate that. You have to utilize that, or you'll get shot. So generally, I'd say worry more about being in good cover and moving from cover to cover, and less about being in anything that looks anything pretty, or could be called a formation. As far as stacks go, a 4-man stack in Arma is a good way to die. So I would definitely recommend not doing that. What I was going to say is that if you're the guy, you got a team behind you, and you come up to this building, there's a guy like right behind you. Run up to here, stop, look back, see when he's with you. As soon as he's with you, don't say anything. Don't be like, oh, we're entering now, because then you're gonna get shot. As soon as you see him with you, just move in. You come in this way, and he does the opposite of whatever you did. If there's more people behind him that follow in after that, great. It doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to have them. It's you and the first other guy with you that's going to be the important ones.
Yeah, the second guy goes the opposite way, right? In the doorway.
Yes.
Yeah, it's urban combat. You can almost boil it down to just make sure you're covering, on your own initiative, you're covering what the sectors that need to be covered. I mean,
right. Without
being asked.
If you're not covering something, cover it.
Yeah, if there isn't a gun pointing at this doorway as we're moving past it, I'm going to take my own individual initiative to cover it as we move past. And actually, I think we do a pretty good job of it on most missions with everybody. I mean, we don't have the prettiest looking thing in the world, but generally everybody is covering, their lane of fire.
But see, look, it went wrong there when Essa and what was it? When Essa and Phil were doing it, because Essa went in, he was.
The thing is, look at TTV2 again for this. There's a thing called initiative-based tactics. One of the principal tenets of that is nobody does anything wrong. Whatever someone does causes a situation. Whatever that situation is, you react to it. You don't go in and go like, oh, I cleared the wrong way. Hold on, let's do this over. You just go with it.
Well, you saw, and we talked about this earlier. You had a saw gunner covering, doing what he, thought was right, and it was right, was covering this doorway, putting some fire into it. He didn't know, and there was no way for him to know that a team was on the other side. They took rounds. They, called it out on the radio. The fire stopped. It took care of it. It wasn't, textbook. It wasn't, the most perfect thing ever. But everybody was doing what they thought was right. And at the end, the situation got fixed, and it was all good.
Textbook is like, in a perfect world where we're all robots, we can all do this all the time the same way. Or if we were an actual military unit that trained with each other constantly, and that was our life, we could do that. For our purposes, textbook is just like, this is the ideal thing. If you deviate from it, that's fine, as long as you're getting the mission accomplished and not getting people killed in the process.
Yeah, that's one thing I think we're real good at.
Not getting people killed? Yeah, some of us.
I was gonna say, some of us are really awesome at getting people killed.
I get the job done.
All right, yeah, that answers the question pretty well, no Gary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, as I was saying, it's not pretty. We definitely, individuals and team leaders, you just gotta get the job done, for lack of a better term. Definitely keep your eyes up, keep your guns up, keep covering, and watch your bunching. Again, I'm not doing a practical part because it's not feasible in my opinion, and I may reassess this later. Right now, I have ran long, so I was planning on doing a culminating. We do everything. We advance into a firefight, into an assault, into a clearance. Does anyone, right? If you have to go, you can go now. Otherwise, we'll regroup what we got left. Like no problems if we go on a leave or whatever. But if we got people left, we'll do the final thing, just to sort of see if you guys put it all together, and then we'll call it a day.
Sure.
Just before we get into this, is there any final points or anything you kind of thought of over the time from anybody, staff, and or candidates?
This is Solitaire. I wanted to mention one thing about moving through mouth environment.
Yep.
As a fire team leader, you've got your two teams if you split up your buddies, right? So it's just real basic. Put one team on the left side of the road, one team on the right side of the road, going walking along next to the hard cover of the walls and such. Especially if you know you've got to move from one end of the city to the other end of the city, or one side of the town to the other side of the town. That way you guys know the direction of movement, and they know what side of the road to be on, and then they can easily cover each other. That's about it.
Okay, yeah. Everyone got that roughly? Yeah? Cool. Alright, any other points? Anything open, floor?
Just two things to reiterate. When we, somewhere in the middle, this is the tasking by name part, we had the situation where we're looking for rear contact, and I don't know who was the FTL, but we just said, somebody look northwest. And that didn't work out because we ended up having two guys look northwest instead of one. So you can just pick a guy by name and say, look northwest. You know, Phil, look northwest. And the other thing is Vaughn, when we were assaulting, when we pushed through where Dyslexia was, real close to us, and we kept pushing through, we were getting really chummy on Vaughn and talking a lot. And if there were more enemy there, they could do all kinds of ninja stuff on us, and we wouldn't be as effective. So
Well,
just those two things.
Would probably be different in a different mission.
Yeah, it depends on if you're viewing this as a adversarial or a co-op with just human, enemy. And, and I think you're probably better off just treating this as sort of a co-op with enemy for right now, just because in terms of talking, it's better as a learning experience if you're communicating better.
Fair enough, but I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Talking is a good thing to establish in co-ops, to where you have this really robust, tactical communication happening. Then we get into an adversarial and everyone's on the same page. You no longer need to say what needs to happen. You just do it, and everyone knows to do the same thing.
It's definitely something you gotta remember in adversarial. You gotta assess, right, your risk of talking, people hearing you, but maybe you're remedying a really, you're making a good decision, right? Even if you can just say it briefly and quietly, it's definitely like a gauge, right? If you're gonna keep all the stuff that's not important when you're in proximity to the enemy completely off. If you're firing anyways, right, your position's known and you gotta make a quick little call, a quick little command, that can happen. You just gotta play to the situation. If you almost 100% sure the enemy don't know that you're on this like flank through the forest behind them, right, that's the time you don't say a word. Definitely play to the situation.